Hello, my name is Julie and I teach the Dynamic Yoga Method class at present moment. I wanted to tell you a little bit about me and the type of class that I teach. So a little bit about me. I have had a regular yoga practice for about 11 years now, and just practiced at home by myself. And then 2017 we had a crisis in our family, and that led me to seek out the other aspects of yoga that I hadn't been getting just practicing by myself. I was really seeking out some support, some spiritual guidance. So I ended up being gifted a trip to Hawaii by my son, which I know I'm super lucky. It was a life-changing experience. It was a solo trip to Hawaii. It was very empowering. I took a retreat in Luzon yoga, and it was just, again, it was just life-changing, transformational, and it left me wanting a lot more. So when I came home, I started to look for teacher trainings, and I found the best one at Jane's House of Wellbeing in St. Charles. Again, another life-changing, transformational experience for me. The teachers and their teachings were exactly what I needed. I found my yoga home, my yoga family there, and it still gives me chills just thinking about that experience and what it has done for me. So needless to say, that positive experience led me to want to share this with everybody that I can. Anybody who is willing to explore yoga with me, and just really learn to live your yoga, not just do your yoga. Anybody who's willing to listen to me, I'm willing to share. So that is my goal. I teach Dynamic Yoga Method, and it is a style of Hatha yoga. And in that, you will experience moments of meditation at the beginning and the end. And then the entire practice comes from, or is made up of, moments of movement followed by moments of stillness, moments of effort followed by moments of ease, and a lot of looking in, not just making shapes with your body, but really looking within yourself for who you are and what you need and what you can do. And it's probably going to be more than you think. So when you come to my class, I don't normally demonstrate. I do if I have to, but normally I just try to lead with my voice. That's how I've been taught, and I use direct action terms to do that, so it's very easy to understand. And really you can do the whole practice with your eyes closed if you wanted to, unless maybe we're doing some balancing, but that to me turns it into a moving meditation. So you're not having to look at me, you're just focusing on yourself the entire time. So once you find your place on your mat, go ahead and close your eyes to the space. And just begin to scan the body and look for areas of tension that you can just focus on and release those, and just relax into the space. Begin to focus on your breath and just notice the natural rhythm at first. And then get to a point where your inhale and your exhale are about even. begin to soften the muscles of your face. Tuck the chin down, your head back, rise up from the base spine to the top of the head. And before we start to move, just bring your hands to your heart and use this little bit of time to set an intention for your practice. So just choose something that comes to you quickly, just a simple phrase or a word. And once you find that, repeat it to yourself, and remember that you can use that intention to remind yourself to come back into the space, into your body, into what you're feeling if you start to get carried away in thought. And now take your hands down to the mat, and we will start with some windshield wipers. And windshield wipers are something that I do at least once in every class, and I'm limited on space, so I'm going to bring my arms out into a goddess position, but I'm taking my feet to the outside edges of the mat. I'm spreading my fingers wide, pulling in my belly, lifting and spreading my toes, and then as I exhale, the knees go to the right and my head goes to the left. Inhale back through center. Exhale, knees to the left, gaze to the right. And then just keep moving like this at your own pace, using your breath as your guide. So you set your own pace according to the rhythm of your breath. And try to slow everything down so that you can really feel everything that's happening. And then the next time the knees are off to the right, pause there. And just notice how it feels to be in stillness, in this subtle twist of windshield wiper. Stay focused on your breath. Notice the opening in the front of the left hip. And with your next inhale, come through the center. And as you exhale, knees to the left, gaze to the right, and pause again. We're on the opposite side, so do a little check-in to see if you notice anything different about this side compared to the first side. And when you do that, just make it a point to notice it and let it go. Don't dwell on it. Don't judge yourself. Just listen to your body. And then as you inhale, back through the center, draw your knees into your chest, place your hands on the tops of your knees, and just circle the knees around your hips so you get a little massage of the sacrum, the low back, and then reverse. And bring that to stillness. Bring your feet back down to the floor. Lengthen out both legs. Take your arms overhead and do a quick full body stretch here. And now the easiest way for you to transition over to hands and knees. So once you're on your hands and knees, make sure that you're looking down at your hands, full palm on the ground, on your mat, hands just underneath the shoulders, knees just underneath the hips, feet straight out from the knees. And this time, for now, just have your tops of your feet pressing into the mat. Pull in your low belly, press the fingertips into the mat. As you inhale, begin to bring your shoulder blades together and look slightly forward. And as you exhale, push your shoulder blades apart. Look back at your legs. Inhale, shoulder blades together, look forward. Exhale, shoulder blades apart, look back at your legs. And again, just continue on your breath. Most of the movement here is in the shoulders, the upper back. And then bring that to stillness when you're back with a neutral spine. Tuck your toes under. Make sure that your index fingers are facing straight forward, so they should be parallel to each other, parallel to the sides of your mat. Pull in your belly, and as you exhale, begin to lift the knees up off the ground, and then send your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Now, this first downward facing dog, well, it might be your only, but in this downward facing dog, just take a moment to feel everything here and keep your legs slightly bent, your knees slightly bent, and lift your tailbone up slightly, and you will feel that in your hamstrings. Keep your belly pulled in, keep your face soft, keep pressing yourself away from the mat, almost like you're trying to bring your armpits together. And with the next inhale, bring your knees back down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Send your hips back to your heels. As you inhale, come right back up. Tuck the toes under. Exhale, lift the knees, lift the hips up and back. Inhale, knees down, untuck the toes. Back to child's pose. And this is an earth salutation. So you can just continue this again on your own, at your own pace with your breath. And now, pause here in the downward dog again. Begin to pedal the heels. So on the breath, take one heel to the floor as you bend the knee of the opposite leg, and just keep switching on the breath. And bring the pedaling to stillness. And then begin to walk your feet up towards your hands, or the hands to the feet here just for a moment. Keep a slight bend in your knees. Lift your tailbone up slightly, and again, you will feel that in the hamstrings. And then begin to put a little bit more weight into your heels. Keep your toes lifted and spread. Make sure your feet are about hips distance apart. Place a strong bend in your knees to set your hips down and back. And then as you inhale, lift your torso and your arms to frame your ears. Look down at your toes to make sure that you can still see them. If you can't see your toes, just send your hips back a little farther so that your knees are tracking more over your ankles than your toes. As you exhale, come to standing, bring your arms down, hands to your heart. Inhale, arms up and over your head. Bring your palms together. Bring your hands back down to your heart. Hinge at your hips into the forward fold with your feet about hips distance apart. Send your hips down and back. Lift the torso up. Arms to frame your ears. Make sure you can see your toes. And if you want, again, a little bit more activation here, a little bit more effort, act like you're trying to split the mat apart between your feet to turn on your legs. And you will definitely notice the difference. Keep your shoulders away from your ears. Shoulder blades pressed together on your back. Belly pulled in. Tailbone slightly lifted. And a soft face. And with your next exhale, come to standing. Bring your arms down and around, hands to your heart. Place your hands on your hips. Turn to face the long edge of your mat. Make sure that your toes are facing straight forward. And then begin to hinge at your hips into a wide leg forward fold. Now turn your toes so that they are facing the corners of your mat. And then one at a time, bend the knee, straighten out the other leg, and just move like this from side to side, just to kind of set yourself up well for a goal pose that I'm about to show you. This is a very abbreviated version of practice, just to give you an idea what it's like. Come to stillness in the middle. Place a bend in both knees. Bring one forearm to the inside of your thigh, the other forearm to the inside of your thigh. Spread the fingers wide. Lift and spread your toes. Pull in your belly. And just focus on looking down at your mat and pressing the knees out towards your pinky toes. And look over really quickly to make sure that your knees are tracking over your ankles. And this is a moment of a little bit of effort. Begin to search for that edge, and if your body is calling you out of it before I do, listen to it, turn the toes in, put your hands on your hips, and slowly come to standing. So we will do that now. We're going to take our hands down to the mat, then bring your toes forward, place a slight bend in your knees, place your hands on your hips, and with a straight, strong, flat back, come to standing. Bring your feet together, do a few Tai Chi twists. Bring that to stillness. Take your feet out wide again, toes out to the outside corners of your mat. And you should, from the last thing that we did, you should kind of know where your feet need to be, where, how much space needs to be in between your feet, because everybody is going to be different there. So once you have the toes turned out, then bend both knees and just look down and see if they're kind of tracking again over the ankles. If they're not there, you can move your feet out or back in, whichever way you need to go to get your knees over your ankles. And now take your arms up. And as you exhale, bring your palms together, straighten out your legs. As you inhale, bring your arms back over your head, look up, bring your palms together. Exhale, hands to your heart, straighten out your legs. And just keep moving like this at your own pace. And the next time your knees are bent and your arms are overhead, pause there, look up toward your hands. Keep your toes lift and spread, fingers spread wide, belly pulled in and face soft. Listen to your body and search for the edge. And when your body is calling you out of it, bring your hands together to the heart, straighten out your legs, bring your toes back forward, hands on hips, and walk your feet together. So that was our goal pose. We quickly got there. We usually take much longer to get to the goal pose. Turn to the short edge of your mat again. Bring your arms up and overhead. Hinge at the hips into the forward fold again. And this time, bend your knees enough to get your full palms on the floor. And then step one foot back. Step the other foot back. And if you want a little bit more effort here, you can come down through plank. And then come back up to downward facing dog and just move like this a few times. So as you inhale, you will move your shoulders forward so they end up over your wrist. And as you exhale, just send your hips up and back again into downward facing dog. So again, do this a few times. If this doesn't feel good to you, you can always come down into child's pose. When you're in plank next, pause there. Really push yourself away from the mat. Try not to sink down into the shoulders. Keep your belly pulled in. Keep looking down at the mat. And when you feel like you are being called out of this, you can come down to your knees and then come down to your belly, or you can come down through plank. So you can just lower yourself down. Bring your hands back underneath your shoulders. Push yourself back up to hands and knees. And then any other movements that you think that you need before you would head into Shavasana. You'd spend, 3 to 5 minutes in Shavasana at least. More if you like, just to digest everything that you've done. And that is a little, very abbreviated example of the class I teach. So usually I include those things. So I include an earth salutation, I include cat-cow, I include a half sun salutation. And then again, and windshield wipers almost every time. And again, we're working toward a goal pose. We're preparing our body by moving it and then holding in stillness and increasing the effort until we get to the goal pose. And then we bring the body back to neutral with everything after the goal pose. So if we have open hips the whole time up to goal pose, we'll have closed hip postures near the end, again, to bring everything back to neutral. And I think that is it. I hope I see you at Present Moment on Thursday night at 6:30. I think you will love it, and I at least I hope you love it as much as I do. And I think that is it. Thank you for joining me. The light in me looks out and sees the light in you. Namaste.